baby. Come on, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming down today. As I'm sure you know, we're here for a very special reason. This man here needs absolutely no introduction, but as a county commissioner here, joined by my fellow county commissioner, I wanted to say welcome. And also, please give a round of applause to the great state of West Virginia Governor, Mr. Jim Justice.
Well, before I go any further, so I won't get in a lot of trouble, Kathy, where'd you go?
She's hiding back here.
We got our first lady with us. She's going to come up here. And I always, usually something especially as serious as this, it would be better to start talking and then later on bring Babydog out. But they said there was a lot of people up here and everything, and so I said, okay, I'm bringing Baby right off the get-go. And when we're done, if anybody wants to come up and say hi to Babydog or get your picture with her or whatever, you're more than glad to come after it's over, okay? So let's do that like that. I'd like, first of all, we've got our Secretary of Revenue right here. And it's Dave Hardy. Dave's done an incredible job. The one thing you can count on, he's going to tell you the truth. He knows the numbers backwards, up and down, one side and down the other, and everything. I'm going to bring him up, let him talk, and I guess then I'll talk to you a little bit, okay? Okay.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, everybody. It's wonderful to be here. I was telling the commissioner there a minute ago, those of you that don't know me, I'm Dave Hardy. I'm the Governor's Secretary of Revenue. And I was a Kanawha County Commissioner for 16 years, and I was a member of Charleston City Council for 6 years. So I am very much attuned and very much understand local government, what it means. And in January 17, the governor asked me if I would come and be the Secretary of Revenue. So I left the Kanawha County Courthouse, of course, came up to be Secretary of Revenue. And the first report that the governor and I looked at together for the state's finances, the state of West Virginia in January 17, we were $207 million underwater for the first 5.5 months we were in office there. January 17 to June 30th of 17, the first report the governor and I looked at together, we were, and I want to get my numbers right, $217 million in the red. And I said, oh my goodness, what have I signed on here for? And don't worry, our budget director, Mike McCowan, at the time, he's since retired, he said, don't worry, there are days. We went to college together down in Montgomery at West Virginia Tech. Then he showed me the next report, and the next report for the next fiscal year, we were $497 million underwater. So when I added those two numbers up, I said, what have I signed on for? We're $700 million underwater when we got there. And that's the governor and I on January 16th of 2017. Now I'm going to fast forward you to June 30th of 2022. On June 30th of 2022, we closed the books for fiscal year 22. And I want everybody to hear this number. This is a credit to this governor. Babydog always knows the numbers better than anybody. Babydog has handed me the books, and on fiscal year 22, West Virginia ended our fiscal year $1.308 billion surplus for fiscal year 2022. Real quick, we were 700 million down, and then we went to 1.3 billion up. This governor has moved West Virginia's books $2 billion in the right direction. So when someone can move the books $2 billion in the right direction, we need to listen to that governor. And this governor said, in July, I'd like to reduce the taxes for the people of West Virginia. And we did some research, and we saw that 9 states out of 50 don't have a state income tax. Many of you know those states. One of them's been in the news all week. That'd be Florida. Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Nevada, South Dakota, Wyoming, Alaska, those are states that don't have an income tax. The states that don't have an income tax have grown in the last 10 years twice as fast as the states that do have an income tax. Their economies have grown 56% faster than the states that don't have an income tax. Now we have the pandemic come along. One of the legacies of the pandemic is telework. Thousands and thousands of people now are going to be working from their homes permanently. And we know, and the studies show, that states that don't have an income tax are where the teleworkers are going to go. So when this governor says that he'd like to eliminate the state income tax in West Virginia, we need to listen to what the governor's saying. Because the future is the states want to eliminate the state income tax. Now, this right here, Amendment 2, Amendment 2 is a bad idea. As the governor said, I have one job at the Capitol. It's to make sure I understand the state's finances. And let me tell you why Amendment 2 is a bad idea. In 1932, I don't think anybody in this room was alive in 1932. I know I wasn't. The people of West Virginia amended our state constitution, and they gave the schools, the cities, and the counties a constitutional guarantee of our property tax revenue. So when we pay our property taxes, and none of us like paying taxes, I mean, nobody likes paying a tax, but when we pay them, those taxes go to the schools, they go to our county governments, and they go to our cities. That is guaranteed in the state constitution. It has been for 90 years. So for 90 years, you didn't have to worry about it. It's guaranteed. Then our legislature got the idea, certain of our state senate, that we were going to amend our constitution on November 7th of this year by a vote of the people, and we are going to change the constitution where the property tax revenue no longer is guaranteed to the cities and counties and schools. The legislature is now going to receive the revenue, and the legislature is going to decide how much money to give back to you, Mr. Superintendent, to run your schools here in Mercer County. So now we're going to send all the money to Charleston, and we're going to have to ask Charleston to give it back to us. And you say, well, we just had a big surplus. They'll give us the money back. Does anybody here think that for the next 90 years, the next 100 years, that the legislature in Charleston is going to always give your money back to you to run your schools, run your county, and run your cities? I'll let you decide when you vote on November 7th if you think you want to trust the West Virginia legislature to return your property taxes to you. But let me tell you about the state budget. We're doing great now. The governor swings for the fences. It's like Aaron Judge. He hits those home runs. But I'm here to tell you, we have our challenges at the Capitol. And I think everybody here is aware of them. PEIA health insurance, economic development, pay raises for the state employees. Do you really want the city and county and school employees to have to compete with the state employees for the pay raises? Medicare, Medicaid. There's plenty of challenges running the state of West Virginia. Amendment 2 will put all the cities and counties right in the middle of the state's budget forevermore. So I'll let you decide what you want to say about Amendment 2 or think about Amendment 2. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to the man that has led West Virginia from a $700 million deficit to a $1.3 billion surplus in less than 5.5 years, Governor Jim Justice.
further, I gotta get Babydog drink. And then we'll get going here, okay? Because she needs a drink. Pretty good, huh, baby? Okay, now, she's not spoiled or anything. Okay. Let me tell you first and foremost, thanks for coming. Thanks for having enough interest to come. I bet all I have in the world that of the folks that aren't directly involved here, there's almost nobody here that has any idea the impact of this Amendment 2 deal or really what's going on. You know, you may think you do, but I'll bet you any and everything that there's no way you can know. Because, just stay with me and just answer me this. Raise your hand. Have any of you seen the bill? Have any of you seen what we're thinking of that is getting ready, that the Senate wants to do? Has anybody seen the Senate's bill? No. Anybody? Well, you're going to an election in 5 weeks. For God's sakes, you're going to vote on something in 5 weeks. You haven't even seen it. You have no idea what it even is. Now, that's no fault of yours. That's the first thing. The second thing is just this. And Coach Pruitt and Marshall, now Coach Pruitt can come up with some choice words, but Coach Pruitt and Marshall called me up on the phone, and here's exactly what he said. He said, if this is all there is to it. It's saying to the people, you give me your wallet, and I'm going to take all the money out of it. Okay? And then, as politicians in Charleston, we're going to say back from Charleston, I promise we'll give it back. Now think about that. And you really, if you believe that, then you need to vote for this. You know, if you believe that, I've said it a bunch of times here recently, I've got some great oceanfront property in Kansas that I'd love to sell. You know, I mean, it is truly toxic beyond all possible comparisons. Now, I tried. You know, for God's sakes, the Senate leadership wouldn't even allow the Senate to vote on getting rid of 10%, nothing, 10% of your income tax, which would have put $254 or $270 million back into your pockets out of these surpluses, and they wouldn't even vote on it. Now, why wouldn't they vote on it? The reason they wouldn't vote on it is because, like it or not like it, you know, what we got going on in government is, you know, leadership says this is what we're going to do, and everybody just lines up like sheep and says, you know, if you're in the Republican Party or you're in the Democratic Party, leadership says we're going to do this, then we have got to all stay together because we're in a fraternity, and nobody says anything. I mean, we don't go to first base. You know, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that at all. Because I think you were elected to serve the people. Not elected to fall right in line in the fraternity and do what the fraternity says do every time. Now, we didn't vote. Why didn't we vote? Because leadership knows they've got to have all the money. Now stay with me just a second, because this is really important stuff. If they spent the $254 million, then what their eye on the ball is, they want rid of the machinery and inventory tax. Well, I'd love to get rid of the machinery and inventory tax too. You know, I'd love to do everything, but you can't do it all just like that. Now, so let's just think, what's that going to cost? Here's a superstar. He's going to tell you the machinery and inventory tax is going to cost somewhere around $500 million. Could be $600 million. And just ask yourself this. If you give up your income stream and we have any bump in the road, I don't care what it is, any bump in the road, you know. Now, we are doing so good that it's hard to believe that you could have a bump in the road right now. You know, but we all know, if you don't, I mean, you're crazy to think, I mean, look, you elected me an incredible honor. When I walked in the door, I don't care what anybody says, this state was bankrupt as bankrupt could ever be. Bankrupt. With nowhere to turn. And with people leaving right and left, and my gosh, the only solution we had is cut. And we kind of tell everybody in the world, there's all kinds of waste in government, let's cut, and we did, let's cut more, and we did, and cut more, and cut more, and cut more, and every time you cut, more people left. I told everybody right off the get-go, there's no way, and you know where, you can cut your way out of this mess. You got to grow your way out of the mess. But it took a little while for people to believe. You know, in all honesty, when I stood up right off the get-go and said we got to make education our centerpiece, I did that for a reason. The reason was we had to start changing our image. People on the outside really believed we had to, you know, we were dingy and poor and everything else and backward and everything, and had to kill a deer every day at the school to feed the people and everything. We had to change our image. And then we came up with roads to prosperity. Well, see, the first two things that people look at to come to West Virginia or come to any state is how the schools and how the roads. Guarantee it. You know, the roads gave us an instant job. Not just go out here and level a place or pass a bill or whatever and then hope they'd come. The roads to prosperity program gave us instant jobs. And off we went. Now West Virginia's just knocking it out of the park. You employed me to mind the store. And I did it. And none of you could deny that, no matter what you say. At the end of the day, there are many, many others out there that say, well, what we did before and everything is the reason this is happening. That's bull crap. That's just flat bull crap, you know. We didn't have the ideas. We didn't know what to do. We would have never stood up and said, we're going to make tourism go to the top. We're going to spend money making people letting people really know that we're proud of our own pond. Boom, it happens, you know. Now, with that being said, step back from this and just think. You have two things going on here. One is I'd love to get rid of the personal income tax because any moron, a moron knows that absolutely states that don't have an income tax or states that are on the pathway to getting rid of their income tax are growing like crazy. A moron knows that, you know. I'd love to do that. I'd love to get rid of our state income tax and we should do this. We should put that as the top priority of what we should do. If we're going to do anything, let's do that. Let's get the people's money back into people's hands. You see, no matter what, no matter if you get on me or not, doesn't matter to me. At the end of the day, I'm going to stand for the people because I love you. I'm not going to do something that's just build a field and they'll come, or I'm not going to do something that leaves you holding the bag and do something for a bunch of big out-of-state corporations in hopes that they're going to do something. The way that you really help the people is you cut their taxes. Their taxes. If you think that if you're getting a paycheck from somebody, you are going to benefit from from getting rid of the machinery and inventory tax, you know, back to the land in Kansas, you know, because you're not going to benefit from that. You're going to bet that more industries will come, there's going to be more job opportunities down the road. Like I said, way back, 2 years ago, or whatever like that, I stood up and said, let's get rid of this machinery and inventory tax. I was absolutely there. You know why? Two things. I never would have thunk it in a million billion years that we could have really gotten rid of our personal income tax. That's one. And two is, we have had every company in the world come into this state, and they just keep coming and coming and coming. And nobody asks about the machinery and inventory tax. So why get rid of it? Why in the world get rid of it? And three, you got every publication in the land that says states that have a machinery and inventory tax versus states that are getting rid of their personal income tax. These states are growing, these states aren't. Now, so the net of this whole thing is this. You have two items that are going on. One, well, let's say the personal income tax. Let's lay that aside for right now. Let's don't even talk about the personal income tax for right now. Let's just talk about one thing, and that is this. What does Amendment 2 do? Amendment 2 basically says just this, that you, on a local level, you're not qualified to be able to look after your resources. And so we want all of your resources to come to Charleston, and then we'll decide for you. And at the end of the day, it's a giant risk. It is absolutely the dead level opposite from what Republicans, first and foremost, stand for and they should do. And that is local control versus DC control, local control versus Charleston control. Now, ask yourself this. Why are we doing this? Why? Why have we been running around for a year talking to county commissions and everything, promising the moon, the moon, the moon, the moon, to try to get you to go along and everything? Why are we doing that? And the only answer that I can possibly tell you is what I think. And that's just this. And during that time, you know, now people want to say, well, we'd like to debate justice on these issues, okay? Well, why in the world didn't they call justice a year ago when they were running around trying to convince you every day, and they never invited me to the party a day? Not one time. Honest to God, the very thing I'll do in life is I will tell you the truth. I absolutely will tell you the truth. I'll make mistakes, but I'll tell you the truth. That's fact if I die right this second. Now, let's just think, well then why? Why are we doing this? Why are we so back double, triple bent on getting rid of the machinery and inventory tax? Do you know what the definition of swamp is? The swamp definition is really simple, and it's just this, is elected politicians are taking money from some lobbyist or somebody that want them to vote a certain way. Now that's what goes on in DC, and we all know how terrible DC is, but it's going on right now in Charleston. And what's happening is big business is going to the legislatures and telling the legislatures, we're going to help you with your campaign fund, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and if you choose to run for office, we're going to support you in your quest to be governor or whatever it may be. And so therefore, they become, you know, they become captured. They can't get away from it. No, they can't. I mean, the leadership of the Senate can't get away from this. And they won't let the Senate even vote on it. And so, all of a sudden, here we go down a path. Now, like it or not like it, that is the definition of the swamp. Ask yourself this too. Why in the world do you think the automobile tax is tied to this? Why is it tied to it? To get your vote. To buy your vote. That's why it's tied to it. Now, basically you're going to give up all your resources forever in order to get your car tax gone. I would be all in favor tomorrow, of just doing away with the car tax thing tomorrow. Do it. Do it in a second. Do it in a second. Let's get rid of it. You know, that's all there is to it. Let's absolutely get on a pathway. Let's do that. And let's get on a pathway of doing something with the personal income tax that gets more money back in your hands. Look, if we give the money back to big corporations that are out of state and bet on more coming, well, first of all, we don't need it because they're coming anyway. But if we give the money to you, you're going to spend it here. And then you become your own stimulus package going on round and round and round and round and round right here. There's a reason for every bit of this. These people aren't dummies, and they're not bad people. But they've got themselves in a real captive moment. You've got going on what has happened in D.C. and what has happened to West Virginia in the past forevermore. Now, I'm not going to be here, okay? I am not going to be here long. 2 more years, I'm gone as your governor. Now, just stay with me just one more second. During those 2 years, we want to do so much more goodness, it's off the chart. We want to just keep doing goodness and goodness and goodness and goodness. Ask yourself just this one question. In this room, who benefits more from this passing? Who benefits more in this room than anybody in this room? Who do you think it is? It's me. It's me. If this passes, my companies, it will bring millions to my companies. My companies now are paying taxes on bulldozers and everything under the blooming sun that I won't have to pay. Jim Justice benefits more from this passing than anybody in this room, guaranteed flat to you. And I'm sitting here saying, don't do it. Now, it takes somebody to do that. You see, I'm not one of them. I'm not one of the swamp. You elected me to serve. This rascal and you, son, are what we absolutely are here to do and look after. Now, that's all there is to it. At the end of the day, literally, if you want to give Jim Justice a whole bunch more money, and you want to believe really and truly that Charleston can determine your destiny better than you can, and you want to take all kinds of risk on the fact that it just may, if we hit a bump in the road, the wheels may fly off and then you're in real trouble. Jim Justice for 2 more years can cut every blooming ribbon and ride around this state and ride this wave and just have the biggest fun time in the world. I'm telling you, you're just a group of disciples now. And if you believe what I'm telling you, you've got to really get to work. Because there's real money going to be spent. And the last of my last, I'd say just this. You know, there's a commercial out that says, you want rid of your car tax and everything, vote for Amendment 2. And really and truly, there's a lot of people out there that believe that Amendment 2 in West Virginia is all about guns. You know, we don't know. We just don't know. And what's going to happen is the very people, the swamp, the very people that want this to pass are going to put real money in it. It's the manufacturers, maybe the auto dealers. They're going to put real money in this thing. And you're going to see ad after ad after ad. And your voice is going to get run over unless you get to work. That's all there is to it. Now, I love you with all my soul. I do. And I'm going to tell you that I am the primary example of, you see, I don't want anything. I've never wanted a thing. And I'm not going to. Absolutely, at the end of the day, you've given me the biggest honor that you could ever possibly give me. And that is you've entrusted me to be your governor. And I've done it, and I've done it right. And I truly mean this when I say these rascals right here mean everything to me. They do. And we got an uphill battle here. But we can win this. but you got to be heard. And I've tried, God knows, I have tried every way you can try. They think they've got it really all figured out, and I think they're going 180 degrees away from you, and you don't know it. And so that's why I'm here. Now, you ask me anything you want to ask, and I'll do the very best I can do to answer you. And it doesn't matter, don't feel bad, you can't say anything that's going to hurt my feelings other than tell me that you don't love me. Because I mean it. I really, really, really mean this. I think, excuse me, I think the entire world of all y'all. And we've got our state really rolling. And the last of my last would be just this. The latest, greatest deal is, tell you what, let's do 10% of the income tax. Let's get rid of the machinery and inventory tax. Let's do some other things, you know, that are thrown in. Just let's back up and get 2021. And on top of that, let's get rid of the automobile stuff too. Let's do it all. Let's have party time, okay? And so I'll tell you what, let's do. In doing that, you got rid of 10%. Now, let me just ask you just to do one more thing. If you were just halfway dialed in, and you could close your eyes and just open your eyes back and think, when you open your eyes back, the state of West Virginia is not going to have any income tax. Can you just imagine the money that would be in your pockets tomorrow? You know how much money it would be? It would be $2 billion right in your pockets. With $2 billion, when you go out and start spending it in an economy, it's got a multiplier effect of 10 times minimum. So all of a sudden there's $20 billion in the economy, you know, that you're putting in. And it's just churning and churning. And that's without one single person moving to West Virginia. Now, how many do you think are going to come? If we had no income tax tomorrow, you couldn't answer the full phones. There's not enough phones made to answer the full phones. That's all there is to it. They'd come from everywhere. Heck, they got to drive through us to get to Tennessee or Georgia, and Georgia's on the way. The Federal Reserve was in my office the other day. You know what they said to them? They said, "What's wrong with y'all? You got it right. What in the world are you doing? Do you realize South Carolina's on a pathway getting rid of their income tax? Georgia's on a pathway. Mississippi's on a pathway. All these other people are already there. If you don't get moving, you're going to get left out." And they got to drive through us to get there. 2/3 of the population's right above us. They got to drive through us to get there. Okay. I mean, let me tell you, Babydog, we have a Boston Terrier. And Boston Terriers are really conniving, and they're really smart. They are really, really smart. Our veterinarian, and I don't believe this, but our veterinarian said, Babydog is not a Boston Terrier. and she just loves being around. Well, I'm telling you, even Babydog knows this isn't the way we ought to be going. Isn't that right, baby? You even got your own sign. She says, "Paul's down." Ask me something, please.
We talked, the County Commissioners Association talked up in Oakland Park about a month ago about this issue. And, you know, I guess the brass tacks of it is I think everybody in the state legislature didn't come up through how county government operates. And when they make it kind of a change, you know, it eliminates what we're required by code to do. We're in Mercer County, we're successful. And as a result, we have a terrific school system, and we're able to provide, you know, services to people. We got good law enforcement, things like that. But not every county has that same opportunity. Now, I understand that, but if you look at the formula that was handed out, that idea, those counties that are a little bit suffering, you take look at Summers County up there, and Charles is here that could talk to you about that as well. But you know, they're not gonna get as big a share in that payback as what more affluent counties, and I don't think that Mercer County is affluent in any sense, but if you understand how county government works and the way it distributes funds, and also the people that you have in service there are there every day, all week long. They're not in Charleston doing things. This is where people come to yell at us or call us on the phone or say, you know, we've got this problem and we try to resolve that. But I think that, and I think you were spot on whenever you mentioned that the leadership, not necessarily some of the guys that actually do the work and actually serve the people here, they're the ones that are trying to steer that, this amendment too. And you're also absolutely right. Charles laid it on me when we were meeting up at James Monroe High School a month and a half ago, and we said, who in their right mind is going to vote against an amendment that's going to eliminate their car tax? And it's just, you know, it's that, and you mentioned here.
That's right, it's just a buy your vote.
Yeah.
That's all there's to it.
It was a gimmick to do that.
That's right.
And to get it on the ballot before it was even authored. I mean, you mentioned about I haven't seen the whole full, what Amendment 2 is going to do. And I mean,
well,
you know,
none of us have
pieces
said
of it, but you know.
It changes, I mean, listen, we were called, my office was called, you know, to a meeting, you know, with Senate leadership and House leadership and everything, and the House gets this, you know, now. And basically, this is when we were in a special session, and basically said, you know, the governor needs to amend the call, it's on Monday. It said, but we got to have an answer on this now, because we want the call amended, and we want to vote on this tomorrow. You know, I mean, for God's sakes, a living note, and you know, our Secretary of Revenue wasn't even asked to come. You know, I mean, this isn't good. And the other flip side is, you may be right. She's right behind you. You may be right that Mercer County may get, may not be as hurting because of the good way you do stuff as badly as that, but you're still doing one thing. You're still saying, Charleston, you've got all the money. You give us the money back, you know. And what if they don't? That's the craziest thing in the world. Why in the world would you take that level of chance? And if you have a downturn and they can't, look, I don't care how good things are. Anybody in business knows that dupe can happen, and it happens all the time. And when it happens, then you're in peril. Look, we're going at this completely. I mean, we don't need to cast stones or hack up with one another and everything, but it doesn't make any sense. And you don't know anything about it. That's a crying, pitiful shame. You don't know anything about it. The last hurrah that we know about, it was proposed to us to keep, and do you have that page on the budget being flat straight across you with the, just hold tight, I want to show you something.
Take me minutes of time to get everything I got.
I bragged on you a whole lot.
There's weight of the room on my shoulders right now.
If you don't find this real quick,
I know, I got lots of
we're gonna
papers,
really miss
guys.
you.
Get Babydog to help.
my secretary.
Didn't almost start your
I
head.
know, I'm getting it. Well, guys, I may not have it. But I can tell you what's in it. We trust you.
We trust.
Can I tell them what's in it?
No, I'll tell you.
Oh, boy.
Some good work
I
there.
know. Get in some water.
Here's exactly what we were handed. We were handed to tell you what we're going to do in the Senate plan. Senate plan is going to be that we're going to maintain a flat budget with no change for, I think, 23, 24, 25, 26, and 20, or 20, maybe 4 or 5 years. 5 years.
Yeah.
And it, all the way across, it's like $4.675 billion, straight across. When I just ask yourself, you know, what are we going to do about pay raises? What are we going to do about, we've got the federal government right now, we can get like $6 billion into highways, but we've got to come up with, I think it's $1 billion, $250 million, $250 million a year for the next 4 years to match, and then we get like $6 billion for highways. Where are you going to come up with money to match? What are you going to do about PEI if it comes up short? What are you going to do about things? In other words, stuff happens. It just plain happens, you know? And if we think we're just going to do, well, listen, I'll tell you what I can do. I can tell you just this. The SBA to right now, the school building authority, my good Lord, living, let's say they got $30 million, and they projected they could build, you know, 4 schools or whatever it may be, or do this, or repair. And now inflation is just eating our lunch, and all of a sudden those costs have gone up 50%. You know, well, what are we going to do when dupe happens, you know? Well, honestly, what we're going to do is you're going to come to Charleston to try to get your money, and we're not going to have enough money. And then everybody's going to be in a mess. And who got your money? That's the thing that blows me away. Companies that don't even ask me about coming here. They're the people that got your money. Not the people, not you, those companies. Jim Justice will have a bunch of your money. Now really and truly, that's exactly it. Now, so, you got 2 issues. Getting rid of your personal income tax is an absolute slam dunk to bring in more people to West Virginia. That's put that aside. You got this that basically is saying we're signing up for Charleston to control every single thing you're doing, everything. And if that's what you want to do, my last thing I'll say is just this: if that's what you want to do, I love you this much. I'll absolutely be respectful, and absolutely I'll look right at you as I go away, and every time you run into me at Walmart or wherever, ball game or wherever, I'll look right at you and say, I told you so. You know, and there's no way for me to lose. There's no way. If you don't do this, we'll all be so much better off, it's unbelievable. If you do this, every time I see you, I'm going to tell you I told you so. You know, they need us. They really need us. And there's going to be real dark. So has anybody else got any other questions?
I've got something I want to say. You are absolutely right on this. But there are 3 other amendments on this ballot that's coming up that are also as dangerous for West Virginia, that everybody needs to vote no or go online and look them up. They are as dangerous as this is for West Virginia. I have looked at them, I have read them. If you can even begin to understand part of them, and they're pages and pages and pages long, written that way to confuse you so you don't know what you're voting for. But they have been explained to me, and they are dangerous for this state.
Well, let me comment just real quick on that, okay? I don't think, I mean, now I don't want to get in the weeds on the other three amendments because really and truly I'm very familiar, but I'm not the super authority, okay? Very familiar, and I'm not going to get into the weeds on it, okay? But I will tell you this, you know, there's surely arguments, in my opinion, that take education from the education standpoint. You know, if within education, really and truly, at the end of the day, you know you get some wacko educators that don't really listen to the parents or anything else under the sun, and there's real problems there and everything. We don't have that situation in West Virginia that I know of. You know now, and so. And I'm a real believer that we got a lot more good going on in our schools today than we do have bad. And so there's maybe some sense of legitimacy there. But the thing that rings in all these amendments, if you'll look close enough, is more Charleston control. More Charleston control. More Charleston control.
Charleston wants to control the schools.
And I'd say just this, my good Lord living, why not just give the keys to Charleston and say, okay,
they want to control our churches.
You know, let's just go on down the road. You know, I mean, to me, I've even said this directly. I have, honest to goodness, I've said this directly to my staff. I have said, look, if we're just going to do nothing, you know, and they're going to control and run everything coming or going, let's just go fishing. I mean, let's just hang out. I mean, what in the world? Let's just let them run it all. I mean, I believe they'll just crash it just right into the ground, and we've done unbelievably good. But no, to me, there's value in certain ones and certain things and all that, and we really need to, and that's good. But, you know, just to say, out of the clear blue nowhere, you know, that I don't like what a judge is doing, so we're going to impeach a judge, or we're going to impeach Chandler, okay? And he's the greatest of the greatest and all that and everything, and then he doesn't have any recourse at all. Just, okay, he's gone. You know? I mean, to me, it's just heaven to Betsy. We have gotten so just headstrong about stuff. And anyway, you were going to ask something. I'm sorry.
We were wondering if what your reaction is to the federal civil lawsuit going on with Southern Regional Jail.
Okay, can you add something to that?
I'm not familiar with it.
Tell me more about you know, because I'm not as familiar as I need to be.
It's a federal civil lawsuit where they're complaining that there's unfair working condition and living conditions.
Oh no, I do know. Okay.
Have you seen the discovery video?
I have not. But I do know. I know a good bit about what I'm getting ready to say to you. That has been brought to my attention, and I turned the guns right on, okay, and said, let's get right into the middle of it and find out if there's a legitimacy to truth about what's going on. Of course, first of all, the first people to do that's Homeland Security on our side. Now, in all honesty, if you don't watch anything, and anything, you know, it's you know, the very people, it's their house and everything, they don't want to maybe find something bad within their own house. You got to always be on guard about that. So then they come back with this sterling report that everything's okay. Well, I've got to depend on my secretaries and all the different people to some degree. And then there is still issues, okay? Lawsuit on all the other stuff there. And we don't need to just turn it loose because just for the sake of turning it loose. You see, let me just tell you that, and again, this may mean nothing to you. If I were to say to you, what do you think Jim Justice thinks is his best trait? You know, what would you say? What do I think is the best thing I've got going for? I'm really surprised you with it. What do I think is the best thing I've got going for me? You know, I'll make it easy with y'all. A lot of people would say, well, he really cares for the people, he's really focused, he's really determined, all this kind of stuff, he works hard, all that, whatever. I'm going to tell you the very thing that makes me go the best is my ability to doubt myself. And so I am telling you, in anything, just because they say, I just don't say, okay, I'm not going to do that. And so all I would tell you is just this: if you just let this play out, the truth will come out, because I am not just going to go along. That's all there is to it.
Thank you a lot.
Okay. Does somebody else have anything? Oh, yes, sir.
Do you have a Jim Jr. that's going to be available around 2024?
Maybe no. Man, I tell you, I appreciate your kindness, and I really mean it. I mean it. I'm so proud of you, it's off the chart. I mean, I really am. I love you, and I love all of West Virginians, and I just know how good you are, and I know how much you've trusted me, and that's why, for God's sakes, living, I don't want to let you down. I just don't want any part of that. You know, I've said this a lot, just this way. From time to time, I'm in an airplane, and it gets dark, and you can see a long, long, long ways. And I don't go many places. I don't go anywhere other than all over this crazy state, round and round and round and round, because I don't like just sitting in Charleston. I don't like having people try to cater to me, or a lobbyist giving you money, or, you know, I'm not going to do that, or a big party. I'm not doing that. I need to be with you, because you make me go. But in that airplane at night, you can see these lights, and they're just specks all over the place. And I really believe that every one of those specks is dependent on me. And I don't want to let you down. I really mean it. I would say just this: now you're the deputies or the disciples, and you better get going, or you better get really used to hearing me say, I told you so. Because this ain't good. This orders to it. And this business of everybody just lining up in a line because somebody said, leadership said, we all got to go with them, we're in the fraternity and everything, I think that's garbage too.
I have one more question for you. Since our legislature is trying so desperately to really mess over our state, and you've known this in advance, can you explain to me why you put health care for women in the hands of our legislature? You're here.
Okay, that's a really fair question and everything, and I'm not going to run from it. I'm just going to tell you exactly what I think. Okay, now we're going to disagree on this. Okay.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Because you didn't give West Virginia or the women of West Virginia a chance to vote on something that's very important thing for women or a lot of men in West Virginia, and it's not fair.
Okay. All right.
It's not a decision that men, all white men of West Virginia in our legislature who are trying to destroy West Virginia should have the right to make. It's not a decision for men to make. It's not their bodies. It's not their health care.
Okay. Now, and I've heard it, right? And I've been really respectful to you. I want you to be that to me.
I will be.
Okay. Here's what I think, for good or for bad. The U.S. Supreme Court made a ruling, a decision, okay? And in that decision, the decision did not say, we want all the states to vote. Well, they didn't say that. They basically said they wanted the states, basically, their legislatures to come up with what is the state's laws. Now, I know we don't disagree on this. My interpretation is that, and here's what I told our legislature. Come up with something that is reasonable and come up with stuff that is logical. But in all honesty, the Supreme Court ruled. And I do stand for life. I do. And everything. But I wanted our legislature to do their job. You know, and then if they came to me with something, with a great passage of the legislature on it, and it had exceptions and reason and logic with it, I'd sign it. Now that's exactly my thought process, good or for bad, good or for bad. You disagree that it's the wrong thought process, that we should have done something differently, but that's exactly what I did. Now, at the end of the day, that's what I said I would do from right off the get-go. I told the legislature that's what I would do. Now, at the end of the day, this is very, very volatile on both sides. You have people that really, really believe that 1,000 million to 1 you're protecting life. You know, on other side, you have people that say, you know, it's not a man's body. It's a woman's choice and everything. And you have that all over the place. That's why I say I'm not into really debating that. I'm into just trying to do my job in that. And my job in that was the Supreme Court of the United States made a decision. I have a preference to stand for life. Without any question, I absolutely have that preference. But I think we have got to at least have reason and logic. I mean, you know, and I think we built that in. Maybe not the all-time greatest that would please you, but we did build in some logic and reason, and they passed it overwhelmingly. So that's what I think.
Then how about, since you took rights away from women, then you allow women to find a right that we take away from men from the state of West Virginia.
Not going to win that argument.
I'm telling you, Kathy takes
You
away
know,
a lot of my rights. I don't know the rest of the men in here, but we have a lot of women taking away our rights.
You know, it takes two, and all the burden falls on the woman. Every bit of the burden of this is falling on the woman, with nothing falling on the man. And very little time for the woman to be able to take care of this burden that has fallen on her because of the man.
That train is right on time. Yes, sir.
So how is that fair? How is that fair?
We're not going to resolve this. We're not.
I believe, Stacy, I believe you have a comment, Stacy.
Yeah, I got a comment, not a question. I just want to commend you, Governor, on how you led our state with COVID. I run a rescue squad here in Princeton, and what you did for our state during COVID saved thousands of lives. And I just wanted to thank you for that. And I know, Babydog was in on a lot of them decisions, so we brought him a little gift and you a bag to carry him around with, Governor.
Thank you so much. Okay, baby, now I'm going to give you one of these because you're going crazy if I don't. All right, I'll tell you what, I'm going to put them in here. If anybody wants to, has anybody else got anything? If anybody, she raised her hand. All right, help me here, Dave. I don't have any fingernails. All right, here, baby. All right, now what do you think? Don't even start. I know what this is gonna be. You're gonna be chomping on this in just a second, aren't you?
Ladies and gentlemen, if there are no more questions for the governor, please give him a round of applause and thank him for coming to this.
Isn't this an incredible facility? I mean, really true. All the powers for Kathy, went crazy coming right in the door. And everything. Here, baby, bro, look here. You gotta just take it and eat that big one.
Let me tell you that we have plenty of refreshments here on this table, and we have drinks and water back and punch back there. Unfortunately, I didn't put the Southern Comfort in it, but.
Thank you all.